everybody, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are working on page 2 of Stamperia's Princess. So this is going to be a very simple page. I've got 2 flaps. They're both the same size, and these are, and I'll double check, 6.5 by 4, 6.5 by 4. You're going to score 1/2 inch on the 6.5 inch side. You're going to need 2 of those, and we are going to apply these flaps directly to the base page, to the top edge and to the bottom edge, like so. And then we will put some magnets in. And I haven't decided which way to put my designer papers in, but we don't need to talk about that yet. I am going to come in roughly in, I'm trying to decide, 1/2 inch or an inch. There's an inch, there's an inch. 1 inch from both edges. And I'm using my grid here just to come in and get it roughly 1 inch from the edge of the paper, or the edge of the pocket page. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to come in 1 inch. And I didn't double check, but always make sure your pockets are open to the left and right. I'm going to turn it upside down, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to sit it on the grid and then come in 1 inch. Now you can also do that with a little ruler if you want, and just make a tick mark. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the base page paper that I'm going to put in, and this is from the 8x8, and so that's going to go in right like so. But before we put it in, we're going to figure out where we're going to put our magnets. So I want to see what it looks like with the paper laid in. I'm trying to decide if I want the medallion on the top or if I want it on the bottom. And the base page, like I said, is from the 8x8, and I just made my decision. I want the flaps to go in this order, and I want this to be on top. So now that we know that, we can place our magnets. That means I want a magnet underneath this one, and it's going to pass through. I'm going to use a little color block so you can see. So you've got a flap here. So we're going to place the magnet so that it's not having to pass through 2 or 3 layers of paper here to get to the mat. I think. Let me think. I'm trying to decide if I want the opposing magnet to be on the base or on this flap. And it works both ways, just trying to think about which way I want it. And I think I'm going to place it directly on the mat. So that means I want my magnet right about there, and then I'll find the mate. So it's actually on the base page. So here's the edge of the flap. And then the other magnet will be just on the flap. And because they overlap, I only need 1 set of magnets to hold both flaps in place. Okay. And there we go. That's all good. So now we can lay down our base. So this is 8x8, and then these papers came from the 12x12. This is really hard to cover up, but I'm going to use this design on page 3, so we will get to see it. And again, we're on page 2. I'm going to pull this a little closer so I can see more of my edges. And I didn't do it on camera, but I had already inked my edges. Okay. This is going to go here. it looks like I need to take a little bit off. It's a little too wide on one side. It looked like it didn't go into the trimmer straight, so I straighten that out, get some ink on it, and I think it's gonna look just right. Yep. Yep, looks good. I got a little heavy on the glue there. Hi, Nala. My puppy came in to see me. Okay, and then the one with the medallion on it is going to go on top. Like so. And I just noticed that I probably need to trim a slight edge off at the top. This has got too much of a border, so I'm just going to use my ruler and a straight edge, and I'm going to take a fraction off. You could try to put it in your trimmer if you want to, but I think I'm going to freehand it. Nala, that's not pretty. So let's see how I did. Perfect, looks good. As soon as I get this down, I'm going to take a break and go see what my puppy wants. And when we get back together, we will work on the B side. Isn't that lovely? I think this is such a pretty page. I really like it. I could have used many more of these. It's so pretty. Okay, so that is it for page 2, at least the A side. When I come back, we'll work on the B side and figure out what to do next. Be right back. Hey everybody, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are on to page 3 of Stamperia Princess. And I'm doing a simple page, and I've done, this is going to be a kind of a repetitive theme in the album because I really wanted to feature these cut up parts, which I kind of consider card toppers. They're so pretty. So there's a total of 4 in the collection pack, and I featured one on the cover, and I'm going to do one between page 2 and 3, one between page 4 and 5, and one between page 5 and 6. So the 3 center layouts will have one of these cards featured, and of course I'm using one on the cover. I just think they're so pretty. So this is what I've chosen. So this is from the 12 by 12. This is, and I think I mentioned this earlier, this is from the 8 by 8, but I got interrupted by my dog. And then this is from the 8 by 8. And there is a magnet on the back and a magnet in the center, and this is going to get matted, but right now we're just going to focus on getting this laid in. So let's make sure we've got our pockets going left and right. We do. I get my glue. Ugh. I gotta think. What am I doing? Yep. Okay. I'm gonna use this side. I had to pull in page 2 again to see what it looked like. Okay, there we go. So normally the flaps are attached to the base pocket page, but in this case everything is going to get laid directly on the mat. And so I'm going to lay this in. It's going to open left and right, and then this is going to be tucked slightly behind it. So I'm just trying to get a visual on where things are. I'm going to line it up on my mat, and I'll tell you, I'm coming in from the spine, the pocket side, the right hand side about an inch with this feature. Oh, and I should go ahead and figure out where I want this to lay in. And I'm coming at, so 1 inch over and 3/4 of an inch up is roughly what I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and put some glue behind here. And get this laid in as well. So I'm going to come over 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm just trying to position it so it's just visually pleasing. Now I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler just to make sure that I'm not drifting. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to straighten this out real quick. There we go. Ah! It's staying wet longer than usual. It's kind of surprising me. Okay, there we go. Now that's in. Now we can glue the whole thing down. Come back to the center. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 1 inch. 1.5 inches roughly. There we go. Okay, it's a pretty straightforward page. We're going to line the back of this, and of course you can place a photo here, and then you can even do like a photo offset right here if you wanted, and another one down here. So it's just some ideas on how to place some photos. Okay, so I've got this little piece of chipboard that I like the way it looks, so I'm going to have this sort of stagger off over and partially cover this, and I've already backed it with some paper. So I just traced it and glued down some cardstock or designer paper to cover the back of it. And then I went around the edges with a Sharpie, and I like the way that looks. So I'm gonna add some glue. Ah! I hate it when that happens. And then, I think I'm going to put it like 3/4 of the way into the frame. Yeah. Okay, and I might further embellish this page, but I definitely wanted to have this feature here. I think it looks nice, and then it also works as a lever to open the flap here as well. Okay. So let me go trim out my mat for the back of this, and I'll be right back and we will finish page 3. Hey everyone, so while I was away I went ahead and trimmed out the B side of page 2, and I've got these trimmed out, inked, and ready to go. And I want to let you know that the image that I'm using came from the 12 by 12 pack, and it's actually the flip side of this pattern. Okay, I'm just going to scoot this down a little bit. Make sure I've got it right side up. that is, I think yeah, I couldn't remember which side the magnet was on. So that is the end, the A and B side of page 2. Hey everyone, it's Daphne, and we're working on Stamperia Princess, and we are on page 3, and these are the papers that I've selected for page 3. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a card, and I'm going to use this cut apart, and I'm going to use the front and the back. So this is going to be on the top, and this is what's going to go on the inside. And what I've done is I've trimmed this card down basically to fit this cut apart. So, and it actually looks like I need to trim it a little bit more in order to get, yeah, see there's a little excess here. So I'm going to trim this down just a little bit more. And depending on how you trim your cut aparts, you know, your mileage may vary. So I'm going to give you my rough estimate, or I'm going to tell you what I did, and you use that as an estimate, because you may need to leave a little more, take a little off. It really depends on how tight you trim these. Okay, so with all that being said, this is 5 3/4 by 8 1/2. 5 3/4 by 8 1/2. 5 3/4 by 8 1/2, and you're going to score it in half, which would be 4 1/4. Then you're going to put this on here. You're going to double check it, trim it down if you need to, like I just did. And if it fits perfect, great. So this is page 3, and page 2 will be over here, which means I want this card to open away from the spine. So I'm going to apply this in this orientation, which is counterintuitive because it's the opposite way you would normally open a card. But I want it to open away from the spine. So that is the logic there. Although not critical. You could do it either way. Okay, so there's the cover. Now we're going to do the inside. I'm going to ink the edge a little better. Oops, that was a little heavy, but I had some white paper peeking out. I didn't want to see that, and I'll stop it. I'll get this down and I'll take a break. My dog has a cold. She's been sneezing for a couple of days. There it is again. I don't think she feels so great. Okay, so that is one of the design elements that's going to go on the page. The other is I'm going to mat this little piece, and it is from the 8 by 8. This came from the 12 by 12. This came from the 8 by 8, and this came from the 8 by 8. And there's duplicates, but I'm not going to put this side up. I'm going to use this side, and I'm just going to use it as a design element, kind of tucked behind this flap. Okay, so the other thing we want to do here is I want to have a magnet. So I'm going to place a magnet right on the inside right here, because we're going to line this, and then I'm going to place the other magnet right on the back. Like so. And it's going to get adhered to this page, so the magnet will be covered. Hopefully I'm still in frame. Somebody brought that to my attention, that I was drifting out of frame, and it's an easy thing to do. The camera's above me, so I can't see whether I'm in frame or not. I try to visually know when I'm out of bounds just by looking at my grid, but sometimes I get busy and I forget to look. Okay, so that's good for now. I'm gonna set this aside, go check on my dog, and I'll be back soon. Okay, we're wrapping up here on page 3, and all we needed was a B-side for page 3, and I went and found this, and I just love this side, but I've already featured it on the inside cover, so I'm not going to use it here, but it's really hard for me to choose this side over the other. At any rate, so we're going to go ahead and lay this down on the B side, and that is going to wrap up the construction for page 2 and 3. And I want to remind everybody that if you click on the show more in the description, the first thing you're going to come across are links to buy the products that are featured in this project. And then if you keep scrolling down, there is a cut list there for you. In addition to the cut list, it also will appear as a banner throughout the video if you'd just like to keep track of what's going on with the video. Okay, so you have it both ways. It's printable from the directions. Not really printable, but you can take a screenshot of what's in the show more description, or you can just watch the video and it'll come across in a banner, and it's up there long enough for you to take note of what's going on. Okay, so that is the end of page 2 and 3. And again, I want to remind you that that information is in the description. And then also, if you could like, subscribe, and share, we really appreciate it. When I come back, we will be working on page 4 and 5.